Welcome back to the HasanAbi Vindication Hour, where I tell you exactly how right I was for the past couple of years, but especially so in the past couple of months. And then libtards yell at me regardless until the television man also tells everyone that I was right. Welcome back. It's wonderful to have you. Let's take a look. Harry Enton explains why some Democrats are worried. Run the numbers. Presidential race tightens even more.
Kind of an eternal question. Why some Democrats worry? Now, it's a trope. A lot of people will say they're always worried. But I will say, if you've been paying attention to social media or reporting on CNN, Democrats seem particularly worried now. Why? One man, as we say, has the answer. CNN's chief senior data reporter, Harry Enton, is here. So, why?
Why? What is with all of this bedwetting among Democrats? Maybe it's an eternal problem, but let's take a look here. These are, of course, the Great Lake battleground states, the states we've been focusing in on. If Kamala Harris wins these three, she most likely gets to 270 electoral votes. Take a look 3 weeks ago. Harris was ahead.
Uh-oh. Momentum swinging. Uh-oh.
By 2 in Pennsylvania, 2 in Wisconsin, 3 in Michigan. Look at where we are today. The race is even tighter than it was. Today, it's a 1-point advantage in Pennsylvania, 1 in Wisconsin, 1 in Michigan. Look, that's limited movement, but in a year in which this race has been so static, if we're talking 1-point movement, 1-point movement, 2-point movements, and we see movements in all three, this is the type of thing that, at least in the public polling, makes Democrats worried. And I think that the public polling in this case is reflected in some of that internal polling, some of that reporting that suggests that these Great Lake battlegrounds.
Polls mean nothing. Oh, they're back. The polls mean nothing. Libs are going to be so back. Vibes understander, bros. We are back in. Riding with Biden has now turned into riding with Harris into the distance. I love that. Vote blue no matter who. So consistent, so resilient. Who could have foreseen this? Why are Democrats bedwetting? The race is closer than it was 3 weeks ago. Way too close to call in all three. Also, Harris is doing 6 points worse on average in them at Biden at this point in 2020. Also, Dems worry more about a Trump presidency than GOP about Harris. That's because it won't be a Trump presidency. It'll be a Trump dictatorship. Normalizers like you helped usher in so you could get paid. This doesn't make any sense. If it's a Trump dictatorship coming up and the Democratic Party recognizes that, they should probably abandon a lot of the policies of that Trump agenda instead of hugging and kissing every Republican but Trump. I'm going to tweet it. Oh, wow. Who could have seen this coming? Perhaps they're not appealing to Republicans enough. Step aside and let Romney run in the interest of bipartisanship. Oh, you know what? I'm going to say Nikki Haley. No way, Trump will be never president. Though, isn't Trump way too hated like Kamala, who doesn't even need to be that popular? Yeah, Trump is way too hated. But if you're turning around and looking at a fucking hated guy and saying all of his policies are right, but he's too incompetent to run those policies, then why the fuck should anybody vote for you? Notice the attitude shift from a lot of the liberals in the upcoming weeks, where all of these think pieces start coming out about like why the Kamala Harris campaign is hemorrhaging, why the momentum is swinging in the other direction. They will come in here and they won't say that I was right, but they'll start watching and they'll try to be a little bit more careful. Maybe they'll actually turn around and yell at me and say I'm the reason why she's doing poorly in the polls.
States have certainly tightened a lot, where at this point they are way too close to call.
It is what you call a trend.
It is
when
a
you
trend.
See something like this over several states. When you compare this to 4 years ago, what does it look like?
Yeah, so let's take a look, and we're going to look at an average across these 3 states, right? Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin, an average on October 11th. What do you see? Well, if you look 8 years ago, Hillary Clinton was way out in front in an average of these 3. She was up by 8. You go 4 years ago, Joe Biden was up by an average of 7 points across these 3 Great Lake battleground states. You come today, it's just a 1-point advantage for Kamala Harris across these 3 Great Lake battleground states. So Kamala Harris, at least in the polling, is doing considerably worse than Biden or Clinton. And of course, Clinton lost in all 3 of these states, and Joe Biden barely won in all 3 of these states. So when you see Harris up by just a point across these 3, I think that this is really the type of thing that gets Democrats really to worry, John, because the simple fact is Kamala Harris is doing considerably worse than either Biden or Clinton was.
Yeah, at this number, what you start hoping for is somehow that the polls
Are actually right this time
are
around?
right this time and
Yeah.
doing a better job, and that's a little bit of a thin reed to base your hope on. There may be some other reasons in general why Democrats are more worried.
Yeah, so I think it just comes down to the fact that Democrats are more worried about a
It's so funny because like people go, oh, Kamala Harris is too progressive. That's what Americans think. That's why she needs to be even more conservative. And then she goes more conservative. And then the people are like, yeah, we hate this. Perhaps it's not a smart idea to go to the fucking middle when you popped off because you weren't Joe Biden. Perhaps it's a smart idea to not tell everyone over and over again how you're Joe Biden, but like even worse. Gaza, it's fucking Gaza. Say it. She needs to deal with Gaza. No, Gaza is a part of it, for sure. For sure. But it's not the major component here. I think it's one of a multitude of different issues. I don't just talk about Gaza, contrary to what fucking dumbass naysayers of mine say all the time. Immigration, messaging around that issue is a massive problem. Domestic economic solutions. Kamala Harris's economic domestic agenda is dog shit. She does not address a litany of the million different problems that Americans are experiencing. There's some good policies there. She doesn't hammer on them enough. You cannot opportunity economy yourself out of this situation. You're fucking annoying. You are basically just trying to do the Trump strategy, but gay. It's not going to fucking work. Americans don't want a gayer Trump. Trump is already gay as fuck. He's the zesty king in a positive way. It's not going to work. The fuck do you mean opportunity economy? We're going to do $50,000 in tax cuts for small businesses. I love small businesses. I'm crying when I think about small businesses. Like, who the fuck is this for? CNN's focused too much on the numbers without addressing why voters feel disconnected. Oh God, you don't want them to start chirping about why voters feel disconnected. They're going to say it's because she's not being moderate enough.
Donald Trump presidency than Trump supporters are about a Kamala Harris presidency. So angry if the opposing candidate wins. 52% of Harris voters say they'd be angry if Donald Trump won versus just 42% of Trump voters who say they'd be angry if Kamala Harris was. So I think this is more of a bigger, larger picture. It's not just that the polls are tightening. I think it's just that Democrats, John, are more worried in general about a Donald Trump presidency than the reverse in this particular situation.
Harry Etten, thank you very much for
Thank
all
you,
of
my
that.
friend.
Have a great weekend.
You as well.